Hey, what's up? I'm Casey and this is CaseyReacts. Today we're going to be going over LifeProTips on Reddit. LifeProTips is exactly what you think it is. It's dedicated to giving tips and advice about life in general. Everything that you'll see in this sub is very helpful, handy, and wholesome. Alright, let's get right to it. When handling firearms, always assume there's a bullet in the chamber. Even if the gun leaves your sight for a second, next time you pick it up, just assume the bullet magically got into the chamber. Yeah, no, this is probably the best way to prevent any kind of accidental misfires. Don't ever try to dry fire it, otherwise you might end up loading a shell into the chamber. You can accidentally shoot the floor in your in-law's bedroom, just completely obliterate an entire box of Gideon magazines, and then you can do the exact same thing roughly 10 years later with your son watching again in the exact same room. My dad was not the greatest whenever it comes to gun safety. The first time my grandpa had to use his knife to get out buckshot that went into his arm. Gotta say, he wasn't very happy. Wear a helmet no matter how old you are. They're not just for kids. A super short fall onto the concrete off your bike or skateboard can cause permanent brain damage with ease. Yeah, this one's pretty self-explanatory. Always wear a helmet. If you fall off, you might end up hitting the right spot on your head, knock yourself unconscious for a few minutes, and then you lose your sense of smell for the rest of your life. My brother definitely didn't do that. He also definitely doesn't get called dum-dum head by some of his friends and family because of that incident. Granted, I wasn't really much help in that situation. I saw him on the couch laying down saying, "Oh, my head hurts," and crying, and I was just like, man, that sucks. Alright, let's see what's on TV. I'm not very great whenever it comes to seeing whether or not people need to go to the hospital. Even if you aren't concerned about security, always latch and lock your doors anyways. Wind gusts can be really strong and raccoons have thumbs. I'm in southeast Michigan. The weather is unseasonably warm and the evenings have been a wonderful 60 degrees Fahrenheit lately. For me, that means every window in the house is open all day and night. I have a significant distance between me and my neighbors and a balcony that looks into some woods. The frogs at night and the birds in the morning are wonderful to relax to. However, I underestimated how good raccoons are at climbing. Despite having no stairs on my balcony, when I went to get water at 2:30 a.m. last night, a raccoon was curiously exploring my balcony. If he wanted to, he could have simply slid the screen door open and gotten into the house. I know I can't stop them from exploring, but those doors will remain latched at night from now on. Yeah, raccoons are smart little devils. Pretty sure that was one of those straight to TV late night horror flicks, like the Attack of the Trash Pandas or something along those lines. But yeah, raccoons, they can get into wherever they want. When starting a new job, don't stress about your new boss or manager liking you. They already picked you over all the other applicants. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do stuff to make sure that they like you. This means you need to do your work, you need to stay on their good side, not cause problems, but you shouldn't really have to jump through hoops to make sure that they like you. Just trust that if they hired you, they probably like you enough that they want you to work there. Just make sure that you do your job, and for the most part, y'all get along just fine. Depends on the manager, but most managers are going to end up liking you regardless as long as you do your job. Make your children more comfortable with failures and mistakes by telling them of your own ones from when you were a kid. Good advice, but I feel like it really depends on the scenario. If I ever decide to have kids and they decide to get into rock climbing, I'm not really going to tell them about the time that I climbed my brother's bookshelf and fell off and busted my head open. If you have a related experience, then yeah, that'd be great to tell them about that experience, but if not, you don't really need to go tell them all your failures. Always write and sign any handwritten documents in blue ink, because with black ink, it's easily edited and photocopied, and you'll have what's obviously the original copy in blue. Man, just wait till this guy discovers color printers. It's gonna blow his mind. When avoiding unhealthy behaviors, say "I don't" instead of "I can't." Example, I don't eat fast food. I don't smoke. Words are powerful, and saying "I don't" reinforces that you have power over your actions, whereas "I can't" reinforces being restricted, not having a choice. Good advice, but once again, distinction is important. Don't say "I don't eat peanut butter" if you're allergic. Say "I can't eat peanut butter. I can't be around peanut butter." Otherwise, you're going to risk somebody putting peanut butter in something just to be like, "Hey, see, I told you you could eat it," and then you die. I know it sounds bad to say that people are going to try and trick you into eating something that you say that you don't eat, but it happens. I used to never eat pork, didn't want to, never wanted it. My parents ended up mixing it in with hamburger meat whenever we made hamburgers one day. I mean, I was a kid, but still, they watched me eat it, watched me eat a second one, and then they were like, "Hey, how do you like that burger?" Well, guess what? That's got pork in it. It's really, really horrible thing for people to do, but family also kind of sucks sometimes. So I guess this is also a pro tip of don't do something like that. Don't make somebody eat something that they don't eat unknowingly. It's horribly, horribly, horrible thing to do. If you have a great boss or owner at your workplace, then don't treat him like every other boss. I don't know if this has been said before, but throughout my life, I've seen employees with wonderful bosses or company owners, but the worker treats them like every other boss or company. Example, like giving them bare minimum, a bad attitude, tardiness. You may not think it matters, but when they move on from you and you get to experience a bad work environment with terrible bosses, you'll wish you hadn't taken advantage of your old one. And if they don't move on from you, there's a likelihood your boss will become jaded or disconnected and slowly transition into becoming a crappy boss since it doesn't seem to matter much. This is absolutely right. I had a very, very good boss back whenever I was working at a gas station last year, and I didn't treat her like I would treat any other boss. Any other boss, I'm going to go avoid. I'm going to go out of my way to stay away from them. This boss, I looked forward to every day whenever she would come in. I get to joke around with her, chat with her. I mean, yeah, it was a little stressful whenever there were too many customers there and she'd get frustrated, but it was still really, really good to have that boss in more of a friend area than just a manager or boss area. Fair warning, this mainly applies if you were already kind of friends with the boss before. I knew her from a different job that I had where I would go and deliver to that store. But still, if you can make friends with the boss, make friends with the boss. It'll make your life a whole lot easier and they will have your back on anything, as long as you're not in the wrong. If you have an entryway from a garage to a house, replace the door handle with a lever door handle. It's life-changing when you get your hands full, like groceries or sleeping kids. You can use your elbows to open the door instead of trying one free hand. Now, there should be a disclaimer on here. The author didn't put it on there, but I'm going to. If you have a lever door handle, those little sneaky, conniving raccoons and their damn thumbs are going to get into your house. Just remember, don't become a statistic. Raccoon-proof your house. HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, and you should never make a big decision if you are any of these. Important decisions in life should not be made when emotions are high. When your mind is not thinking clearly and a big decision can wait, it's best to wait 72 hours for you to reach a more rational state of mind. If after 3 days you still want to quit your job, buy that expensive car, or move to another country, then start the process. Oh my god, do people really take 3 days to make big decisions like that? That's just crazy. I mean, I take 3 days just to pick what I want to have for dinner. I get very, very hungry by that time, which makes it a lot harder to make that decision. Not everything has to have some higher purpose. Doing things just for fun is just as good of a reason as anything else. Growing up, I was constantly reinforced that I was either working towards something better or wasting my time. Now that I'm 22 and recently got into streaming, not plugging, but that's not the point here, I constantly have to remind myself that I do this because it's fun for me, not because I'm hoping to be Twitch famous or anything like that. Always remember that learning or doing something for the sake of wanting to learn or do it is just as good as any other reason. Yeah, a lot of people don't really think like this, but it's important to have hobbies that are just hobbies. You don't have to grind 24/7 and turn your hobbies into a career. I mean, if you can, if that's what you actually want to do, then more power to you. Go do it. But you aren't required to turn every single hobby and interest of yours into something to make money with. If you live alone, be sure to have a non-slip mat on the floor of your shower. Also a good idea, if you live with someone else, make sure to have a non-slip mat on the floor of your shower. Because even though you have somebody that can help find you and make sure you get to the hospital, hospitals are expensive if you live in America. So just make sure you have that non-slip mat regardless. You don't want to have a hospital trip. There is no shame in practicing phone calls prior to making them. Speak it out loud. Practice with a friend, a partner, or a pet. Do what you need in order to feel prepared. Plan out what you're going to say if you need to. Feel free to rehearse. It is helpful. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Also good, as y'all add more, conversations and discussions with superiors, subordinates, and equals alike. Presentations, although I personally hope you already practice those. Making an order at a restaurant, a drive-thru, or an in-person fast food. When leaving a voicemail, before answering a call. It's very important to have all this stuff just rehearsed. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. My intro, my outro to these videos, both of those, I have those written down in my phone. I have it planned out, and I read it almost word for word. I might improv a little bit on the intros and outros, but I have those things planned out word for word because I don't want to screw those up. Those are the important things, in my opinion. How I start out and how I finish. Everything in between is either reading from the Reddit post or just adding in my own insight, but that's something that can have a lot more leeway than an intro and an outro. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with having to rehearse things, especially for people with social anxiety, people that stutter. Rehearsing things is a very, very helpful thing. If you have a basil plant, take the small fresh leaves first and not the big old ones. The big leaves are basically the main power source of the plant. Taking all of them weakens the plant and it will slow the growth. The same, I would assume, goes for any other herbs that you want to grow as well. I wish I could start growing herbs, can't right now, but I'm going to be using this as soon as I can start growing herbs. It's great advice. Make sure to look up how to best care for an herb garden if you're wanting to have something like that. Doesn't even have to be a garden, just herbs in a potted plant in your kitchen works. And growing it is so much cheaper than having to go to the store to buy it every time you need it. I mean, honestly, if I had cilantro plants in my house, I would be the happiest man in the world. I hate having to go buy cilantro every time I use it, because I use it like 2-3 times a week. If you are bothered by wasps or bees building nests or swarming around your house or deck, stuff a brown paper lunch bag and hang them up near where they congregate. They'll think a rival hive has been established and leave within a few days. I was super skeptical that this would work at first when I heard about it, but when we moved into our new house, there were dozens of wasps constantly buzzing around our deck, and I figured it was worth a try. I took a couple of brown paper lunch bags and stuffed them with crumpled newspaper so they'd resemble a paper wasp or bee nest, and then I hung them up in the corners and the overhang of our deck. I was shocked to see that within a couple of days, the wasps had moved on. We occasionally get maybe 1 or 2 flying by per week in the summer, but really no attempts to build nests. It's a definite remarkable reduction. Amazing. Especially take note of that if you're allergic to wasps or bees. That can be a lifesaver, quite literally. Though I can also say if you're allergic to wasps or bees, make sure you do your research before you move. Make sure if you're going to move to a new country, state, town, city, look it up and see if you can find whether or not they have a lot of wasps or bees there. Might save your life as well. Like I know if you go to Texas, you got a lot of red wasps. If you go to North Dakota, you get a decent bit of yellow jackets in the summer. So far, I haven't seen any kind of bees or wasps here in California. I'm sure that you can find whether or not they will be there depending on the area that you're moving to if you just do a quick Google search. If you have criticism of someone or their work, it costs nothing to be polite. Brutal honesty is not always the best option, or even sought, and just telling someone just being honest doesn't excuse hurt feelings or mean that you can be as abrasive as possible. Now, I don't really like the term brutal honesty. Whenever someone says they're being brutally honest, most times, that's just their excuse of saying, hey, I want to be a jerk and you can't do anything to stop me. Just remember, brutally honest is not, oh my god, you're so fat and disgusting. That's just being an asshole. Brutally honest is, hey Frank, your debilitating alcoholism is pushing your friends and family away and you need to get control of it. That's the good kind of brutally honest. If you're brutally honest, make sure it's in helping someone better and enrich their lives if they are in that kind of a downward spiral. Carry your wallet in the front pocket. Get a smaller one or a money clip that also holds some cards. Sitting on a wallet causes your pelvis and spine to position in a way that isn't natural or straight. This can cause a lot of pain over time. Bonus, it's harder for someone to steal from the front. Yeah, putting it in your front pocket can be really good to prevent theft, but an even better way is to wear men's boxers and just put it in the crotch of the underwear. They always have that little hole that you can put stuff in. If it's socially acceptable for women to keep their money in their bras, it should be socially acceptable for men to keep their money in their bros. Warning, side effects of crotch wallet may include weird stares from people at the store, a suspicious square-shaped bulge, sweaty hands while retrieving said wallet, and osteoporosis probably. If you want to say you're recording to the police, tell them you're live streaming. That way, if they're corrupt, they won't dare to even remove evidence. I gotta say, I think I disagree with this one. I mean, yeah, it's great to live stream and you should definitely always film the police. Always film the police. Always film the police. But if they're corrupt, they're still going to beat your ass. You'll just have evidence against them. Did I mention always film the police and don't talk to the police? I'm pretty sure I did. When responding to a vague email from your boss asking you to do something, verify what they're asking you to do by confirming your understanding of the task. For example, if your boss asks you to update a spreadsheet, respond by saying, no problem. I'll go into the spreadsheet and fill out columns A, B, C in response to reports XYZ we just received. This gives them the opportunity to correct you, and if they don't, you have something to back you up if they criticize what you did. Also a pro tip with this one, it also works in marriage. If your wife or husband or significant other asks you to do something, make sure that you clarify. You want me to do this exactly, yes? That way, you won't get in trouble if you do it wrong. Don't take my word on that though. If you do it wrong even after they tell you exactly how to do it, you'll probably still get in trouble. There are no bad questions. The only reason that other people know things you don't is because they have had that specific learning experience that you haven't. The question is your attempt to attain more knowledge. The only bad question is the one not asked. So, no bad questions, huh? Is My Little Pony about little ponies or is it about full-grown horses? Yeah, never mind. There's one bad question. Beware. Doctors can be out of network even if they are located at an in-network hospital. Double and triple check to avoid surprise bills. Wow. That post just reeks of American healthcare. I'm an American. I bleed red, white, and blue because I can't afford to go to the doctor. Please help me. Alright, and that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to come back throughout the week for more content. Please like and subscribe to help keep this channel going, and have a great week.